No way I'd prefer to start the day than talking about Bitcoin and why there is no second best.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is built by the people for the people.
Can you characterize everything that the Fed has done this past week as essentially flooding the system with money?
Yes, exactly.
And there's no end to your ability to do that?
There is no end to our ability to do that.
Well, we're printing money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally.
Who knows when money printing runs out of control?
A lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation.
The money supply increases rapidly, which persistently and invisibly dilutes people's savings and wages and siphons that value away towards others.
This is worthless.
Back before our money was broken, you could have one parent working while supporting a family with 6 kids and a live-in maid.
But the same Big Mac now costs $3.99.
But the CPI is flawed. What they choose to buy depends on the price of the product. If inflation goes up, people will change their basket of products in order to accommodate for the price increase.
Many Americans do not realize that the United States government is among the largest holders of Bitcoin. Does anyone know that?
You're living in the matrix. And rule number 10 is very simple. It's tickets to escape the matrix are priced in Bitcoin.
You take the red pill.
You end up paying the credit card company 2%. Mm-hmm. You could drop that to almost zero by using Bitcoin or another crypto.
Yep. Private and confidential information. Given that, members of Congress shouldn't be playing the stock market.
When those same lawmakers are trading stocks like a 25-year-old Morgan Stanley analyst.
Nobody is pegged in operating off the same rules.
One of those truckers is Derek Brower, says his personal and business accounts were frozen because he was part of it.
They said they'd only help Cyprus if they came up with some of the money themselves. The way Cyprus decided to do that was essentially taking money from their own citizens.
There's no way to shut Bitcoin down.
Inflation under the Biden-Harris administration hit a 40-year high.
Of all the income tax, just cover the cost of interest. This coming Friday, the United States gross debt will cross over $35 trillion.
I am so afraid of a democracy getting the idea that you can just print money to solve all problems.
Nixon needed more money to continue the war in Vietnam. So he came up with the idea, take the dollar off the gold standard so he could print more dollars.
The government can get into a massive pile of debt, but then let inflation decrease the value of their currency so that in the future, the government will be paying back all that fixed rate debt with money that is now worth less.
Our money has lost a significant amount of its purchasing power over the last 50 years.
Move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
Have an open mind and read everything you could possibly read, even things that contradict your initial conclusions.
Those who understand Bitcoin buy Bitcoin, and those that don't criticize Bitcoin.
Now, if you told me you owned all of the Bitcoin in the world, and you offered it to me for $25, I wouldn't take it because what would I do with it?
Warren Buffett famously has said, if I don't understand it and I don't understand most technology, I'm not going to invest in it. Gary Gensler, as I've said many times, has been a menace to our ecosystem.
I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
There is one thing that the Bitcoin community is watching, and that is quantum computing. Half of the solution is understanding the problem.
Only true threat to Bitcoin is a competitor that is somehow better.
It's not going to solve all the other problems in the world.
Bitcoin transactions are not private.
Every geek understands pizza.
I think the risk-reward proposition for Bitcoin in the year 2024 is better than any other time in the history of the asset, because
our bull case is $1.5 million by 2030. You can see the building blocks. You can see how conservative we are.
To become wealthy in the future, I would suggest you take $1 frickin' $1, buy some Bitcoins, put it in a goddamn wallet.
I'm right here
watching history be made. Bitcoin is now up to $111.
Watch, it will pay. I may have been early, but I'm not wrong.
So that's 1 million or 250K.
If all the world's millionaires decided to buy just one Bitcoin, they wouldn't be able to because there's not enough to go around.
Everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Volatility is a sign of high energy. Just like if I could have bought New York or Manhattan 100 years ago, or 50, or 200, or 30, or 300. How many years ago was it a bad idea, right? 15 years late is not late.
I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today.
So what is Bitcoin? It's 100 to 400x from here once you understand what it is.
The only problem you're going to have is that you didn't buy more.